Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com. Thanks for tuning in for our weekly Sunday Sunset Live. We have got lots to talk about. The cherry blossoms have now peaked, which is awesome. So we'll have a little confetti and for that. But the climate change imprint, footprint there, and fingerprint is something we'll talk about as well. And pollen levels is something we'll discuss. But overall, I want you to be ready for some chill this week. We're going to be coming out of a warm regime, so the blustery conditions might last through Wednesday, along with below average and maybe average temperatures, which we have not experienced. Our bodies are not used to it for many days now, if not over a week. So let's get into it. The peak blossoms are now in the tidal basin, just announced about an hour and a half ago, I believe, by the National Park Service. Temperatures this week are in my animation below and right here above at a quick glance in the graphics there, and my PM update. Anytime you need us, we're at capitalweathergang.com. But I do wanted to kind of flag for you, we're going to get out of this warm air. We burst up above 70 degrees today, I believe, and we're going to be in maybe struggling to get 50 in some spots tomorrow. So just be aware that is going to be a quick change to our bodies. Happy Sunday, Kristen. Hello, Peter and Maria. Good to see you as well. I'm Camden Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com. Thanks for joining me on our weekly Sunday Sunset Chat on Facebook, X, YouTube, and Instagram. All right, so other than temperatures kind of starting below average and maybe kind of going closer toward average by the end of the week, we've got some wind to contend with Monday, Tuesday, probably Wednesday as well. Gusts 25, 35 miles per hour can't be ruled out. So we do have some wind chills. Notably, tomorrow are going to be even 10 degrees, perhaps below the air temperature reading on the thermometer. So prepare to bundle up a little bit more than you might for temperatures within a few degrees of 50. It might not, immediately seem like a small shock to your system, but it could feel like a small one tomorrow, especially if you do see some clouds off and on, which we'll talk about in a second. And gardeners, just want to flag for you, freezing temperatures are in the forecast. As we've been discussing in the recent, I think, last couple weekly Sunday sunset chats, it's not time to permanently plant some of those sensitive vegetables, flowers in the soil just yet. Now let's look at for allergy sufferers, with peak bloom here for the cherry blossoms, we are tracking, no surprise, above average, way above average for this year's pollen plume, earlier and higher. And I think the blooms on the tidal basin are now tied for the earliest peak bloom. And as you can see, trees were high as of the end of last week. We had a small respite with precipitation rinsing us out this weekend, but I just wanted to warn allergy sufferers, the air will be dry, blustery conditions, and a decent amount of sunshine, especially I think Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, we could have some good amounts of sunshine, particularly on Thursday. So we are going to have a very short respite overall. Clouds off and on this week. I think our brightest day should be Thursday, as we see here above, and it gets cloudy again on Friday. And I move the precipitation very quickly below because other than a stray shower or non-accumulating snow flurry this week, we're looking at a coastal system potentially bringing us some rain Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Lots of uncertainty. Stay tuned to capitalweathergang.com. We'll be there examining the latest data 24/7 for you. And I want to thank you again for tuning in on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and X. I'm Camden Walker for capitalweathergang.com. Holly, I would see the blossoms sooner than later with some of these high wind gusts in the next few days. Hey, Ruth, Elisa, and Maria, good to see you. And Kristen, I wouldn't quite pack away the sweaters just yet. We could get some quick hitting cold air. Mary, thanks for tuning in from X. And I love Ruth, Lisa, seeing you. Indeed, I hope if you're traveling, hope it's safe in New Jersey. And hello, good to see you, Faraday. I appreciate seeing you as well on Facebook there. Jules tunes in from YouTube. Hello, most welcome. And Maria, yes, indeed, I have born and raised in the DC area. And Janet, hello, thanks for tuning in from Facebook. All right, let me show you how much rain we could add up in the next 7 days. And again, uncertainty where the exact track and timing and amounts of rain Friday, Saturday, Sunday might add up. But currently, the thinking is light to moderate rain amounts along the coast of the mid-Atlantic. Depending, though, changes could happen where the final track of that would-be low-pressure system coming up the coast might be. Further ahead, let's take you into next work week. A slight probability above average temperatures, more clear signal for above average precipitation. So it could be a little bit wet more than usual next week. And this kind of maybe takes into account that Sunday storm system potentially coming up the coast with some rain. And it could be a wind and rain risk with that low pressure system potentially moving up the coast as you see the Climate Prediction Center. And then now this is an experimental graphic of heavy rain risk and a high wind risk, but they both kind of align in that time frame of March 23rd to 25th. So this could be a windy, rainy, low pressure system moving up the coast, potentially a classic nor'easter if things come together. For the consensus for the weather models has yet to decide when and where this low pressure, rainy, windy, low pressure system potentially moves up the coast. But we will be watching it for you at capitalweathergang.com. Now, related to a tie with our earliest ever peak bloom for the cherry blossoms on the tidal basin is the fingerprint of climate change. It has been warming in the DC area for spring, and the number of days, the frequency of a warmth has also been increasing since 1970. So just want you to think about that, especially allergy sufferers. We're well aware of how early and fairly severe our allergies have been this year. So that is also correlated, kind of connected and analogous with this record high earliest peak bloom for the cherry blossoms on the tidal basin. All right, thanks for tuning in. I'm Camden Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com. That's our blog right there. Anytime you need us, goes right to the Washington Post site for you. I'm Camden Walker on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Hi, Janet. Good to see you. And let's see, we've got Mary. Next Sunday is Palm Sunday. Donna, hello in Iowa. You hope you're doing okay with some of your droughts, but I think you're getting some precipitation there later this week, Donna. And Jules, you have a great week as well. Thanks for tuning in on YouTube. And Mary, hope you're doing well. And Ruth Elisa, tourist season is coming now with the peak bloom of the cherry blossoms. Indeed, we have this coverage for you at capitalweathergang.com, announced by the National Park Service on the mall about an hour and a half ago, I believe. And let's see, so far, Julian, the blossoms now being in peak bloom, they are a little more sensitive to temperatures, which I think should stay above freezing. Could be a little close, but should stay above freezing on the tidal basin, so that's good news. What I worry about more are these wind gusts Monday through Wednesday in the 25 to 35 mile per hour range, which I'll highlight for you here. The wind risk is there for through the early week, if not the middle part of this week. So they do loosen the hold on the trees is pretty loose here at the final stage, the peak bloom for the cherry blossoms. Ruth Lisa, let's look at the pollen for you. I think that's a great question. As a fellow allergy sufferer, I am bothered by all these trees, which are tracking more. It's a more pollen, earlier pollen than typical. That red line is 2024, and the average peak is closer to April, May, but we are looking at an early peak so far. Hopefully it stops going up soon. We can kind of spread some of this pollen out with greater breadth instead of having this spike continue early in this pollen season. But as you see, trees here at the latest reading are high. We had a small respite this weekend with some precipitation rinsing out the atmosphere, but I don't expect this to last with ample, just enough sunshine, even though it's a mix of sun and clouds this week. I think we'll have enough sunshine, dry air, which helps pollen more easily spread, and wind. Talk about spreading pollen. Gusts of wind, 25 to 35 miles per hour, Monday, Tuesday, potentially Wednesday. This is going to aggravate our allergies if you are a fellow tree pollen sufferer like I am. So just wanted to give you a heads up, fellow allergy sufferers. Clouds, off and on clouds this week. I think our sunniest day could be Thursday. Our warmest day could be Wednesday. Other than a stray flurry that won't accumulate, but a stray flurry or a stray rain shower, really the next main precipitation chance is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And there's uncertainty on the track of this rainy, potentially windy, low pressure system, and we'll keep you posted here at the end of this animation. It kind of might affect our weekend, so we'll keep you posted at capitalweathergang.com as we get closer to this weekend. Charlene, if you need some rain, I hope we can get some of this rain from this potential storm system up there for you in Pennsylvania, and remains to be seen. Let's see, Vicky, glad to catch you as well. We are pretty wet so far, running a surplus in rain this year. And it's good that you know that. As a gardener, if you are a gardener, you might like that the soils and the water table are pretty darn refreshed as it stands now since January 1st. And then how much the rain might add up to in the next 7 days. So far, light to moderate amounts. Depends on the final track of this low pressure system. As you can see, nearer the coast, there's a higher probability of more rain accumulating. We'll watch the track if this storm system kind of develops with more consensus as we get closer toward this weekend. The signal for even next work week, both of these graphics from the Climate Prediction Center look ahead to next work week. A slight signal, slight lean toward above average temperatures, but I wouldn't bank on it. I wouldn't bet on it. There's a clearer signal, higher probability of above average precipitation next work week, and some specific risks. Heavy rain and strong winds, slight risk for both in that storm system time frame that we're talking about with, made some question marks, but March 23rd to March 25th. That's kind of next weekend. We're going to just watch to see if and where the storm system, this rainy, potentially windy low pressure system, if it develops, could move up the coast, scraping us with some rain and wind, but only a slight chance as it stands now because there is enough uncertainty and lack of consensus in the weather models. Now, spring warming, it is here. It is becoming more intense with human-caused climate change. The blossoms tied for earliest ever peak bloom on the tidal basin this year. It's no major surprise with our average temperatures here below, especially with overnight low temperatures. That's very clear warm signal for spring warming since 1970. We're averaging 2 degrees warmer for spring seasonal temperatures since 1970, and the frequency of warmth is also up. Now we have 10 more days of above average temperatures than we did in 1970 as well. So that is part of the mix going together with our early and strong pollen season and with our early and tied for earliest peak bloom of the cherry blossoms on the tidal basin. And just so you can see, there's no drought in the region to speak of. That was a good question earlier, Vicky, and plenty of rain surplus in the region as well. All right, I'm Camden Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com on the air another 8 minutes or so. We're talking about much cooler, blustery conditions for the early part of this week, being a slight shock to your system. I gave a pollen briefing in my PM update there at the top, so anytime you need us and want to click through to check out my latest PM update, that's at CapitalWeatherGang.com, our blog there anytime you need us, 24/7. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and X right now for our weekly Sunday Sunset Chat. Thank you so much for joining me on this weekly adventure. All right, so there's your forecast at a glance graphically above, and cherry blossoms have hit the earliest tied for earliest ever peak bloom. And so we'll do a little confetti. Let's do a little confetti for seeing peak bloom now. Oh, that's balloons. I can't keep them straight. But it's, good news if you are a big fan of the cherry blossoms. You can go down there now, try and catch them before the wind this week potentially blows off a few of these blossoms with the persistent gusts, 25 to 35 mile per hour wind gusts, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And that, of course, for us humans will be a wind chill, maybe 10 degrees colder than air temperatures tomorrow. So do bundle up a little bit more than you might expect. We're coming out of a warm regime. We've acclimated to above average warm conditions. Even today got above 70 degrees. So just be prepared. This will be a little bit more of a shock than the numbers might intellectually otherwise indicate for tomorrow as well. The temperatures this week do start below average by several degrees, but we get back up toward kind of the upper 50s, especially Wednesday, I think, is our warmest day. We might pop above 60 degrees, but overall, kind of the cold air moderates toward the end of this week. It will be closer to average, and we'll kind of have acclimated by the end of the week to this temperature regime. Kenny, you could use some rain. I think we hopefully can send you some maybe this weekend if that storm system develops. Happy Sunday and St. Patrick's Day, Dondra. Let's do some fireworks for St. Patrick's Day. I hope everyone is having a good one and wearing your green. And we've got David, thanks for tuning in from Facebook. And Catherine, I'm glad that you're finding the pollen info helpful. And Mike, I'm so glad you enjoyed your beautiful day there in the Shenandoah Valley. And Mary, the averages have come up, and every 10 years, the averages have been warming. So we'll leave out that it's been moving upwards, and we're still getting above average with a higher frequency. That's a very good, you know what you're doing, Mary. And Vicky, Thursday should be a little less breezy, I think. And Paul, next weekend, I would not do too much gardening, depending on where this rainy system develops. We're looking at that potential as well. So let me first show you gardeners. I just want to flag for you, freezing temperatures are likely in most spots this week. So please remember, last frost and freezes are not behind us for most of the region. Be conservative, plant those sensitive items and pots that you can bring inside during overnight colder temperatures. All right. Now, pollen, really quick, of course, we're feeling it with the trees being high, and it's not your imagination. It's a severe early start to the season in 2024. That red line going much above average in those turquoise bar graphs below, which is a typical footprint of the pollen season. And we could see with dry air and wind and some sunshine this week, even with below average temperatures, pollen should stay fairly high and a nuisance for us. Precipitation that we're talking about and why I'm discouraging you from fertilizing this weekend, Paul. We could see a coastal low bring in some wind and rain this weekend. Uncertainty remains in exact track, timing, and rain amounts. But overall, it's a fairly dry week, just a stray shower, stray flurry. Our brightest day should be, I think, Thursday. Our warmest day should be Wednesday. Some of us might get above 60 degrees. And winds, gosh, those could peak, I think, on Tuesday, but I am kind of expecting 25 to 35 mile per hour gusts Monday through Wednesday this week. So please keep that in mind. And of course, rain amounts currently looking light to moderate, but of course, you notice near the coast where there's a higher probability to be scraped by the rainy potential low pressure system moving up the coast later next weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll have to watch this for rain amounts. They will fluctuate and move with the ultimate storm track if it, does materialize and develop coming into this weekend. Looking a little further ahead into next work week, temperatures have no clear signal, maybe leaning above average. Precipitation, a clear signal of being wetter than average. And of course, that slight chance of wind risk and heavy rain risk for that potential low pressure system moving up the coast 23rd, 24th, 25th. All right. I will check. Lewis, great question on cicadas. I haven't kept up on the latest broods that might develop this year. And I think, Diana, it's a partial eclipse in DC. It should be, I think, a little bit better than was it 50% in 2017? I'll have to check on that. That's another great question as we get toward April. All right. I think I've caught up on Instagram, Facebook, X, and YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Cameron Walker for CapitalWeatherGang.com. That's our blog anytime you need us 24/7. We're going through the details of our upcoming work week. I'm on the air another 3 minutes. Spring indeed is getting warmer thanks to human-caused climate change. Not only the temperature itself, but the frequency of warmth is happening more and more in our spring days, our spring season, March, April, May since 1970. It's why our pollen is so severe and so early this year. It's why the cherry blossoms on the tidal basin, they are tied for earliest peak this year again. So it is just everything is moving a little earlier and as we get warmer. So PM update is right there. That's my latest update for you. The graphical forecast at a glance. We're highlighting cherry blossoms, ignoring the climate change signal for a second. We can do a little bit of confetti for peak blooms. They're very beautiful on the tidal basin. Just announced about 2 hours ago, I believe, by the National Park Service. All right, let's see. Janine, thanks for tuning in from Facebook. And Paul, we can talk about pollen. It's probably going to elevate again a little bit this week. Happy to connect in that our, peak cherry blossoms, typically for us allergy sufferers of the tree nature. Yep, we're feeling it. Trees are going to probably be high again with ample sunshine, wind, and dry air this week. We did get a brief respite this weekend with some of that precipitation rinsing out the atmosphere. But look how severe. We're just really high in the pollen and really early in the pollen this year. I can't guarantee. I've seen double peaks happen in previous climate change, warm seasons, but we'll see. Hopefully, this means we can spread out the pollen and kind of dip down earlier than we normally would. But you can see we're much earlier than typical peak in April and May. So I hope you're hanging in there, fellow allergy sufferers. I know I am feeling it. All right. Thanks so much, Mary, for tuning in on X as well. We're on X, YouTube, Facebook, and YouTube. Clouds, I think we're talking about off and on clouds this week, but it'll be bright on Thursday. I think that's our brightest day of the week. Rain amounts are pending, light to moderate so far, but we were watching that low pressure system later this week, kind of Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Precipitation has a good chance of being above average next week. Not as clear signal, maybe slight chance of above average temperatures next week, with a risk of high winds, slight risk of high winds, slight risk of heavy rain. coming in with that potential Friday, Saturday, Sunday low pressure system. And we talked about spring warmth, the frequency, the number of days above average, and the temperature itself is about 2 degrees warmer on average, any given 24-hour period of day in the last since 1970. What is that? 54 years, 53, 54 years. All right, so let me stop it there, leave you with the PM update. Our blossom peak has indeed arrived, and it's indeed a sign of climate change being tied for the earliest ever. Temperatures this week are going to be a little bit of a shock with wind chills. Tomorrow, 10 degrees below what the air temperature looks like, and it is going to be below average. And our bodies are coming from a much above average warm temperature regime. So bundle up a little more tomorrow than you might otherwise expect. Wind is in the forecast Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 25 to 35 mile per hour wind gusts. And the last freeze is not behind us. We have freezing temperatures for much of the region expected for overnight periods this week. So please, gardeners, remain nimble and keep those potted plants transportable inside. All right. Have a great one. I hope you stay warm to start this blustery, chillier week. I will see you next Sunday for our weekly Sunday Sunset Chat. I'm Cameron Walker, signing off of Facebook, YouTube, X, and Instagram. And I appreciate seeing you, and we'll talk again soon. Hope you had a good St. Patrick's Day and have a good start to your week. Bye for